why the can slash should paradigm is terrible advice. So there's a common saying, and this comes from a lot of maybe parenting. I'm not too sure. It would be most typical to parenting, but if anything, other environment for that matter. There's a piece of advice that comes up, and this is so this everything may be subjective, but this at least has to be objective. Don't feed the trolls. The don't get anything personal or private to public people, and then here we have now the just because you can doesn't mean you should. And none of these three advices are objective in my opinion. Not only they're not objective, they're still really bad advice, even if they're not objective. And what I'm going to talk about in this particular video is about the third thing, which is the just because you can doesn't mean you should. That is not true, in my opinion. That is not true. And there's a reason why. And it's like, not even in any time or place situation. I still think it's not true even then. Like, it's terrible advice to begin with. I think that when you tell someone that they just because they can doesn't mean they should, it gives the idea that you're making the false assumption that they are doing something with privilege, and that could very well not be the case. You wouldn't have to know that just because you think that based on your observation that they actually were doing something that they within their right or within their control, for that matter, if any of that makes sense. That they're doing something that they didn't have to do. And many times in life, you're going to find that you're going to be claustrophobic behind a wall of people thinking that they're claustrophobic behind a wall. So they're going to be angry at you for something that you should very well be angry at them about. That could just be its own cliche of, oh, you're just angry at each other. No, not even deeper than that. They're angry at you for something that you should very well only be angry at them about. But for them, it's like there's nothing you should be doing to be acting against your own privilege and irresponsibility when it has nothing to do with responsibility and privilege. You know, even those things are inherent anyways. When someone tells you that just because you can't doesn't mean you should, they jump to the conclusion that you already know what you're doing or don't know what you're doing. But either way, that you had the privilege to do something that you had within your control, and that it was obviously you did something wrong, and that you were trying to make sure you had something of a selfish desire per se to get into. And when they make that false conclusion, even if they're right, it's still a very narrow and dissective. I want to say this in a cool way, but no, whatever. It's like, even if their conclusion is right about you making that without needing to do it, it's still selling you short. It doesn't have to be about the fact that it was something that could have been diverted in a different way. When you give people that option, it may be a good assurance, but that's still selling them short. It's like you do not tell someone that if you think they have privilege, that they should still consider other options, even if those options are so worthy, even if it's worth knowing that the assertiveness behind having multiple options. That insight is uninsightful in itself. You don't do that. In my opinion, you don't do that. You do not tell someone just because they can doesn't mean they should. Because if there's something that they can't do, why do you think they should do that? Take care, everyone. See you next video. And this is a pretty good video, by the way. Yeah.